Hi again. Again, it's Melikachian, and today we still will discuss about defense. This time I played game in Moscow this year, February. I played Airport 2 A2 tournament. The second round, I played a young man from Lithuania, Pilekis, and I got some profile from him. He's been, already very well-known player by playing in team championship, by playing, making a couple draws versus very strong grandmasters, including my former pupil, Levin Aronian. And he's also very good kind of aggressive player. So I was white, and so I went e4. That's my one of my pet line. I'm always playing this line. I like to play some kind of sign line instead in defense. It's making me play more creative, trying to stay away from the main line of theories. It's nice to play. So queen c7. As soon as my opponent play queen c7, I start to feel my opponent trying to catch me in some line, because this is sideline and not really very popular. I believe I've played this one game in my life. I played against Bulgarian Grandmaster Valentin Yoto. That's the only my experience for this line. So I tried to play still same moves. Up to this point, we both played pretty confident. We both played pretty much quick. But here, I was surprised. Like I said, my opponent be playing very fast, and now he basically let me decide what to do. If I take on c6, which the main line of this theory line. So if I took on c6 after knight c6, well, might have something, but in fact, Black still holding two bishops, and in fact, situation in the center still locked down kind of. And I don't think so. White really will be able to use advantage in development. They have some kind of jumps, let's say knight d5, but first of all, Black's not supposed to take on d5, and secondly, even if they did take on even if they decided to take, it's not really clear, because future they play d6. So it's not really compensation here. So I've been thinking here to do something else, and I found this e5 move. Well, I thought it's very, very nice move, because obviously he can't take on b5. I've taken on knight b5, followed by knight d6, and then f7 and h8. I will win material, and I will stay probably in winning situation. But what I'm missing my calculation, it's a knight d4 move. At some point, I thought I can take on d4, play knight d4. I forgot he has queen e5 move, very brave move, queen e5. But in fact, queen e5 move take away the 6 square from knight, and I didn't see anything here to continue. So all my jumps on the black queen wasn't really like successful here. And I figured out I had to do something else. And I knew one thing, I am kind of in trouble, because I'll be trapped for opening line. Probably it's being analyzed by famous chess program Rivka or Fritz. So I was trying to find the move which not going to be, let's say, in the first or second line of Fritz or Rivka, because I do familiar with those programs. And I found a way how probably will, I knew one thing, machine wouldn't consider that continuation as a primary, because they usually think different, and they usually don't like to give up material. So I figured out that's the way will be to stay away from his like computer preparation. I went here, bishop d3, knight e6, obviously I expect that move. Now, important part, I played here b3, So it's the idea to prevent, to protect c4 square, and most important to continue my development. So he took. Bishop d7. Well, black wants to continue complete development. If they took on the tree early, then it might be some trouble because I might take by cd, and then the risk jumps on d5, and also I can break position with playing d4. So it's too early to take on d3. So bishop d7, the best move. Yeah, this is an important moment. Knight e4. My opponent, after some thoughts, took on d3. In fact, before I play on knight e4, I actually took my time because I knew one thing: I had to play aggressive. And honestly, I thought the best try from black side would be to keep pressure on me and play f6, because I believe this guy on e5 it's very strong. So my opponent still made him move okay. I'm saying it's still winning the game, I guess. But it gave me opportunity to create a lot of mess on the board. So it's very important. My opinion, if you have a choice to choose between, I'm not saying passive defense, but defense which you believe in the end will give you still lose in the game, even playing, let's say, several hours, or second choice to go for the short battle, short tactical battle, and you still might be die there, might be lose there, but you have a chance because it's still, we're all human beings, and there is still chance for your opponent to make a mistake. So my opinion, always choose the second path, always choose the second way, because in a complicated tactical battle, it is always chance for your opponent to make a mistake, and you have a chance to survive. So what I'm trying to say, before I played knight e4, I expect his capture on d3, and as soon as he captured on d3, I took on d7 almost immediately, and all my body language, all my basically face was saying, "Oh, you know what? Finally he made a mistake. Finally he blundered." But in fact, I knew bishop d7 will give me huge headache, but my opponent should find the move that e1, so this line, the main line. So knight f6 check, king d8, here, here, here. Well, after the game, my opponent told me he stopped his calculation right here because he thought it's very dangerous for him to continue this position because, I have many threats here. But what he missed, he didn't continue his line because he had very great chance here to play queen c8. That's amazing defensive move, which will connect the rook and the queen, and most important, by extracting the f8 bishop, because if I take here, then after this, I mean, you probably must take here. I'll take here. And I think you're in trouble because, well, first of all, we're even in material, but this is Hanks, everything is Hanks, and I think we're in trouble. I mean, I haven't seen how probably I can do this way. I can do rook c1, the best choice. I saw this position, knight d4, and I found here the last trick is knight d5 check. With idea take on d4 and hoping to play opposite color bishop endgame, being down pawn. But I believe it's still pretty much a loss for white because black still holding a healthy extra pawn. So, but again, what's my point is, you see the whole line, it's include like 6-7 moves, and most important, it includes very tough move to find queen c8. So I saw it from far, and I told myself, if my opponent will find king c8, then queen c8, then I will lose my game. But if don't, then it's going to be a brand new game, and I'll have a chance to play even for win at some point. Again, Imagine if I don't take on g7, then what to do? Simply take on d3. At this situation, well, you have no pawn, you have no compensation, and I don't think so you'll be able to really survive here because black have two bishops, they have healthy pawn. I don't see anything here why white should have some compensation. By playing eventually f5, rook g8, g5, black will simply win a game for sure. So I think I made the right decision. It works out well, and generally speaking, I think it's really the right decision. So I took it, and here my opponent started to think really deep. He spent here, I guess, 40 minutes, maybe a little less, and he still couldn't figure out the line, and he still, because my experience is very funny. My experience showing if there is some kind of hole in your calculation, in evaluation, and your opponent didn't find it, like let's say in the first, let's say 20 minutes, for instance, then typically he's not going to find it for sure. And as soon as my opponent started to think deep here, and when it passed like half an hour, I figured out, you know what, he's not going to find it, so I'll be fine. I had some kind of feelings. So I took on g7, he took it. So he decided to go for this position. So this is position, I guess, it's dynamically equal. Black having better pawn structure and bishop versus knight, but white having, let's say, f6 square. So bishop c6, knight f6. It's important me to protect this g8 square and try to tie black pieces. Here, actually, I think black found a very nice source. He went here, queen e7. He's trying to get rid of the white queen and trade the queens and go to the endgame where bishop and a rook usually better than knight and rook. So queen e7, rook e3. I have to make a protection for my queen. Queen f8, rook g3, h5, h4. So at this point, I was kind of happy because it also created me opportunity to take on h5 at some point, you know, creating this kind of attack. So he took. It's funny, I found here in the case of rook h6, I found this tricky move, knight g8, followed by knight e7 check and knight c6 and rook f7. So he can't go yet rook h8. He has to play rook f8. Now his idea to bring his king. Yeah, and now it's very interesting here. Now my time, I spent here a lot of time to figure out what to do. Because originally I've been thinking to join my rook. But then I figured out it's not about joining my rook, because my rook on g5 doing nothing. It's about trying to help position on f6 for my knight. Because I figured out if I give up f6 square, then I'll probably be still in trouble because his bishop's still better piece than my knight. And the way how I start to think, first of all, I start to think, okay, what if I start to play rook c1 with idea to play rook c4 and rook f4? Then I knew one thing, typically the pieces, especially major pieces, are bad defenders. So because we have principles, defense must be cheap, offense must be rich. And I figured out, no, it's not right. I'm not supposed to keep my rook as defender for my knight on f6. It's kind of weird. And I said to myself, no, it has to be something else. And after spending some time, I found a very cute idea. I found f4. Now what I want, I want to play f5, and I want to play f5. Let's say if you go king d8. I'll play f5, and now if you keep going king a7, they have a trick to play knight h7 followed by f6 check. And that will be very good for white, kind of. If you go and take on f5, then I play rook e1, I will control e-file, you don't have a entry king e7, and you cannot really kick my knight because he's kind of secure, and your pawn are also weak, then maybe I will consider king f2, g3, and then keep moving my king to f4. So I was kind of happy to find this strong move f4. My opponent went here, bishop b5, also interesting move. Now he wants to attack d3 pawn, and he wants to force me to go back on rook g3, which is the only move. I can't afford to lose d3 pawn, because it's not about d3 pawn. It's about if this guy, bishop, gets there, then he will control the whole diagonal, including this most important square 5, and I'll be in big trouble. So I can't afford to sacrifice or give up my d3 pawn. So rook h6. I was doing time pressure here, and I was trying to save some time, and I went rook g8 by showing I'm still in defending mood, and I don't mind to make a draw. And my opponent, obviously, since I'm in time pressure a little bit, he went here, king d8. Now he's trying to kick my knight. Rook e1. And I think here he made a mistake. He went here, rook h6. I'm pretty much sure the better move was here to play king h7, king then d5 check, and some kind of still back on d8 or d7, which would probably lead me to draw. I don't think so. Black really having not saying right to play for Wayne, but black is really better here. So he went rook h6. I played here. King d7, or in fact, if you play, let's say, king e7, it's always could be f5 stuff. That's why he doesn't want to put his king on the x-ray from the white rook. He went king d7, rook e3. That's important move to double protect my d3 pawn and make g3 rook free. Because every time when you're playing endgame and your rook's involved, you must always keep your rook or rooks aggressive as much as possible. So rook e3, it's a great defensive move. It's, by the way, over protection, aligning Soviet stuff. So rook g6. And now the move which I prepared, rook g5. So you see, by making my defensive moves all the way from the openings, I actually made comeback, and in fact, after move rook g5, I felt I am better already, because I felt I have a nice squares, including like f6 square. My knight are getting very aggressive by attacking 2 pawns. He has a problem with h5 pawn, so I have a plan clear to move my rook here, to move my king on a3, guard my d3 pawn, and then start to use activity on the king side. So after rook g5, I remember my opponent took almost all his time, and he actually basically catch me on the time, and to start to play both in a little bit time pressure. But I think, like I said, I have feelings after rook g5, white's definitely at least having no problem here, and I'm pretty much sure after rook g5, I'm in better shape. So rook g5, he went here, rook h8, king f2. Well, there's no hurry. Like I said, my plan is to keep pressure in future on g6 rook. And for now, I also need to protect my d3 pawn, and the best protection will come from the king. So king f2, king e7. Yeah, this is kind of maybe mistake because of temperature stuff. But honestly, like I said, I don't see what really to do, because maybe the best try also was b6 with idea to defend c5 pawn and try to still play d5, try to be aggressive. Maybe that's the better way. I think that this is the better way, because with playing king e7, I think what has been missed in my opening calculation, it's very strong move f5. Same ideas, f5, now check on e5 is very dangerous, and now they have to do something with position for the g6. He took on g5, f6 check. Yeah, well, obviously pawn must be connected. You cannot basically separate your pawn structure. In fact, it's funny, white have 2 double pawns on d file and g file, but white definitely better by one simple principle. They have f6 pawn, most advanced pawn at this point. So in situations when we're talking about pawn structure, and especially when pieces are involved, It's always important how far your opponent stands, how advanced they are. At this point, I knew my pawn is 6 with support of g5 pawn. It's a big force, big strength, and I'm definitely better here. So h takes g5, e5. Well, obviously he wants to create a path for the king. e5, king g3. In endgames, always try to have your king in an area where you're going to play mainly. So at this point, I already figured out my king not going to be defending d3 pawn. My king will be attacking h5 pawn and will helping g and f pawn to be promoted. So king g3, bishop c6, king h4. Well, I knew obviously he can't take on e4 because this is kind of lost because my pawns from weak become very strong. He has many holes, and I don't think so. This chance for black will be to hold this position. So he went here, king e6. Now rook e2. It's kind of prophylactic move. It's idea to protect g2 pawn. And why I didn't play g3 because I need a g3 square for the knight. So I played rook e2, bishop d7. Well, now he wants to have his bishop on g4 to protect h5 pawn. But what I saw immediately is rook f2. Now, as soon as black king will leave e6 square, they must always consider g6 and f7. So it's not that easy. But he still went here, king d5. His counterplay, it's moved to d7, and as I mentioned in the beginning and earlier, so we both here in a slight time trouble. So he wants to go this way. So I found the most nice way. I went here in g3. It's idea to keep my eye, and then now I want to simply take on h5 and then play g4. So he has to play bishop g4, and finally breakthrough g6 and f7. So he has to go rook f8, king g5. Well, if he goes king e6, then after king g6, I calculate white is winning there because black will give up in future eventually the rook, and I don't think so that they will be able to really hold the game. Another thing is they might try to give up the bishop and rook for the pawn and rook and try to hope to make a draw by having active king, but I don't think so that's kind of real because let's say if you go, when I calculate, let's say for instance here, if you go here, I think it was a couple lines here I've been wondering. Yeah, first of all I found this. Yeah, I remember it. I found this, and if it goes king d3, then king and then d6, and then I will keep my rook alive. Secondly, if you take here, I mean on f5, then I'll pick on f5, and then you will give up whole rook, and it will still last for you. So he can't really like give up his bishop and knight, I mean bishop and rook for the pawn and rook, and hoping to play endgame with having king and versus pawns, not a pawn. So he went here, king g5. He went here, king g5. King g5, king d4, king g6, d5. Well, he just acted desperation. I simply won a game. Just I was trying to not give any chance for black to create any activity. I'm sorry, I played rook f8, king d3, king f6, e4, king e5, d4, no, sorry, h4. And then finally I found this, rook g8, and he resigned, de, rook d8. So I hope you like this position. I mean, I hope you like this game. So what's important in this game? Again, by having good defense, I may come back in the game, and also I may actually be able to win a game. So again, my opinion, guys, if you're defending in a complicated position, in an imbalanced position, and you have a chance to, let's say you have a choice to choose to go for a long defense, let's say without material, or just basically defending bad position, and understanding basically you're going to go down anyway. And the second choice, you can see the short path, very complicated, which will include a couple very tough moves to find. So my opinion, always go and choose the second path, because in complicated, even short tactical battle, you have still chance to survive, and you still play for three results. Your opponent still have a chance to make a mistake. That's my personal opinion. You're welcome to follow me and join to my class. Good luck.